Politically motivated lawyers, lefty activists and a meddling Strasbourg court successfully disrupted the government's plan to take back control of our borders yesterday, as the first flight to Rwanda was delayed. I'm sure they're all feeling rather smug today, aren't they, with what they'll see as a moral victory. But in truth, I think the Liberal left have only succeeded in exposing potentially their own bigotry. Opponents of the bold strategy have painted Rwanda as some kind of post-apocalyptic hellscape, illuminating their own outdated prejudice against a proud partner of Britain and fellow member of our proud Commonwealth. Home Secretary Priti Patel hit back at the country's critics today.
It has saddened me, Madam Deputy Speaker, to see Rwanda so terribly misrepresented and traduced in recent weeks. It is another example of how all too often critics not only don't know what they're speaking about, but seek to vilify another international country that has a good track record when it comes to refugees and stepping up to international responsibilities. Rwanda, Madam Deputy Speaker, is a safe and secure country with an outstanding track record of supporting refugees and asylum seekers.
Well, top columnist Rod Liddle joins me right now. Rod, thank you very much. Why do you think the left have so much hate for an emergent African nation like Rwanda?
Because they're racist. The left has always been racist. It looks upon black and brown-skinned people as their clients, who it treats with a kind of disdain, as if they need a pat on the head, as if they're always victims, as if they're always needy. And that's why it has this attitude towards Rwanda. The real tragedy, of course, is that because the latest attempt to get these people to Rwanda for processing has failed, more people will try to cross the channel in dinghies, and they will die trying to do so. And the Archbishop of Canterbury, when he's saying that this rendition to Rwanda is a terrible thing, ought to look and see what the alternative is, because he has not come up with any alternative. And until we have an alternative, more people will die. This is at least an attempt to dissuade people from coming. But there's one more point on Rwanda. We were originally told that that gay refugees couldn't be transferred to Rwanda because of the attitude towards gay people in that country. Now, which immediately led, of course, to almost all these young Iranian men pretending to be gay so that they could get out and go to Rwanda. But I had a look up at Rwanda's track record on LGBTQI rights. And a recent study done by the American government, the Democrat government in America, has shown that that LGBTQI people are harassed in Rwanda. They are not subject to any discrimination in Rwanda. None have been forced to leave the country as a consequence of discrimination. None of them are harassed in their own homes. Furthermore, Rwanda also homosexuality and same-sex relationships are totally legal in Rwanda, unlike in many parts of Africa.
They are, and women as well, Rod. Women as well, Rod. They're represented massively in their parliaments over there. There appears to be more work going in Rwanda than you can shake a stick at, for example, as well. So you don't end up falling between the cracks like many of these people would do in our economy. I've got to be honest with you, Rod. I'm thinking about going to Rwanda.
Now, I'm thinking about going to Rwanda. To continue the point about the gay rights, a government minister has recently said a singer came out in Rwanda as being gay, and it caused some controversy. It hit the papers much as it would over here. And a government minister said everybody in Rwanda is entitled to absolutely equal rights, no matter what gender they are, no matter what sexual preference they have. I do not see, short of greeting each migrant with a rendition of Mamma Mia or I Will Survive, I do not see how Rwanda could be more gay-friendly. It just befuddles belief. I do not know what they... But the left, it's an interesting insight into the left and to how it sees this whole thing. It doesn't really care about the plight of the refugees. Otherwise, it would try to come up with some way in which more of them would live rather than die trying to cross the channel. It doesn't really care about black people. It cares about black people only so long as they are voting for the left and can be treated as a client group. And this whole thing has uncovered a degree of racism amongst them, I think.
I agree with you about the racism element of it as well, Rob, but there's another side to it as well, which is I'm not seeing any town planning going on. Let's say that we don't send a lot of these people back, or even indeed other illegal immigrants. They've got to live somewhere. And I think there's this town, is it Linton-on-Ouse or somewhere like that in Yorkshire, where they go from a population of a few hundred to 1,200 or so asylum seekers or illegal immigrants being dumped in that particular area. That rips the face out of that place, doesn't it? This is going to keep happening up and down the country. But, of course, it won't be happening to a lot of people who are actually opposed to the Rwanda plan, because a lot of them live in rather nice houses somewhere in Hampstead.
No, that's absolutely right. But it's more than that. It's more than that. Again, the left has no answer to the question. If we let these people in, there's only a limited number of people we can let in every year. Everybody agrees with that. Everybody, including the Labour Party, they agree that there have to be some limits. And if you allow these people in from Iran who are crossing the channel in dinghies, these young men, fit, able-bodied young men, it means that disabled people, gays, women, children, the elderly are pushed to the back of the queue. The people who are trying to get here legally. And there is no answer from the left to any of that. There's just a silence which says, at the same time, let them all in. It is a non-tenable political position to have.
Now, I wonder very much what some of these people, our new arrivals, shall we say, really must think about us. Because they must have thought initially we're a bit of a soft touch. And then they think, OK, there's some people here getting on a plane, there's all this hoo-ha, it's supposed to be 130, then it gets whittled down to 6, and then it gets whittled down to 3, and then the plane doesn't take off. They must think we're absolutely bonkers.
Well, yeah, but they'd be right, and so I think they're absolutely bonkers as well. Because this isn't just about the refugees. You will remember the trouble Priti Patel had attempting to deport deadly serious Jamaican criminals back to the Caribbean. And these were people who had been convicted of not merely continual drug offences and drug running, but rape, murder, violence. And the lefty lawyers were doing exactly the same thing there and preventing them from being sent back to the Caribbean. It seems to be that the way the law has it at the moment, through the European Court of Human Rights and through the European Convention on Human Rights, that we can't send anybody anywhere apart from maybe to Denmark.
And this is it, isn't it? And this is the point, because actually, as it currently stands, I think you're basically exactly right. If you can set foot on the UK soil or on a shore, basically now, you can stay. And at some point, I'm sorry, but we're just not going to have the room, and everyone's going to start suffering from it on a variety of different levels. But, Rod, I could talk to you all night, and hopefully one day we can go to the pub and actually crack on. That was Rod Liddle there. Thank you very, very much. Well,